Okay, Net 297. Let's talk about demoing Server Mangler. It's technically called Server Manager, but I have a stupid pet name for all things Microsoft. So Server Manager. Right, so in the previous video, we installed the Hyper-V role on this physical host. In the second video, we installed one instance of Server 2025. And as I bring up my Hyper-V Mangler, you can see I've got a second Windows Server 25 box. Now don't be fooled. They're labeled Domain Controller 1 and 2. They are not domain controllers just yet. Okay, so you should remember from the previous video, the first DC we built, or first server we built, was built using the desktop experience. The second one, not so much. This is Windows Server Core. This is Microsoft's recommended best practice for building servers moving forward. How are you supposed to manage it? There's no GUI tools. There's no start button. You're not really supposed to manage your servers from your servers. Instead, you're supposed to download the remote server access tools to your workstation and manage these servers from your workstation. Okay, so because we haven't done that, however, we're going to take a look at sconfig. So where the heck did this box come from? So I'll start the process. We won't finish it. Excuse me. So we'll build a new VM called Delete Me. We'll make it Gen 2. Server 2022 and newer. Windows 10 and newer require the UEFI based BIOS, right, with Trusted Platform Module. So it's got to be Gen 2. Once you make this choice, you can't change it though. So be careful. Okay, because I've already got two VMs on a machine with only 16 gigs of memory. Okay, we're going to do that. We're going to connect it to the default switch. I'll talk about this virtual switch later. Next, we're going to make the drive 10 gigabytes, and we're going to do what I always do. I always make a VMs folder, wherever, right? And then I've got a folder that I'll create the folder. It'll be named the same thing as the virtual machine I'm building. This allows me to keep my virtual hard disk drive files organized. This is very important when checkpoints come into play. I'll show you that later as well. So we're going to throw that file in the Delete Me folder. We're going to make sure it's 10 gigs. We're going to install an operating system from a bootable image. It's going to be the Server 25 eval. Next, and we're going to finish this. This will take a second, and here you can see Delete Me. Now, I'm going to connect to it before I start it. When you're installing Windows 10 or newer, Server 2016 or newer, you have a drive that is not formatted, but you've attached an ISO file. So to this virtual server, it's going to look like a DVD drive. So when I click Start, I've got about anywhere from 5 to 15 seconds. It depends on the speed of my host. This window will resize itself. It will get larger. And in the top left corner, black background with white text will say, please press any key to boot from the disk. If I miss that, it's going to try to boot from the network interface card, or what we call PXE boot, PXE. We're not set up for that. So I have to hit Start here, and then as soon as I see the message, press any key, I've got to click inside this window and spam the spacebar. So this will take anywhere from 5 to 15 seconds. There we go. And as long as you're quick enough, you'll catch it. And it'll boot from the DVD. Now, I'm not going to do the full installation, but I'm going to show you which choice led me here. Okay, so yeah, I'm going to choose that. I'm going to choose US. I'm going to install. Yes, I agree. This will take a couple seconds, and here it is. This is with the GUI, GUI, Golf Uniform India. This is the desktop background. Okay. This is Server Core. Yes, GUI, no GUI, graphical user interface. So I chose this one, and then I just did next, answered all the questions. The server built itself, and when it was finished, the server rebooted, and then this screen, sconfig, S as in Sierra config, will start by default, and I'll get this menu of choices. So by default, your computer name will be win hyphen and then some ungodly long string of letters and numbers. I changed it by typing the number 2. What do you want the name to be? Limit your names to 15 characters or fewer. It's 2025, but NetBIOS only supports up to 15 characters. You can technically name this 100 characters if you want, but it's going to get chopped off after the 15th, and that can make name resolution a little bit wonky. Right? So I'm not going to make any changes. I'm going to leave it blank, and I'll just press enter to cancel. I also enabled remote management. I changed the updates to automatic. I enabled remote desktop. You type this number, okay, and you press enter. So type number 4, and it's going to ask you, right? So I want to enable remote management, which is number 1. It's going to tell me that it's already enabled. Okay, so now I got to do it again. Oh, number 4. And then I want to enable server responds to ping, number 3. That's also already enabled. Okay, by default it isn't. I chose to send Microsoft the optional telemetry data. I just do. Okay, and here I can choose to exit. Okay, and now I'm at a PowerShell command. Okay, so this is the error message I see because I stopped the installation. We're just going to turn the delete me box off, and then we're actually going to do what it says, which is delete me. Deleting a VM, however, by itself does not delete the virtual disk file. Here are my folders. I go to the delete me folder. Here is my virtual disk file. Right now it's about 35 megabytes in size. Okay, I can delete that. The reason I like to do this, checkpoints, which are like snapshots in time. Sometimes my servers will have a checkpoint before you install a Windows update, for example. It takes a checkpoint of the server right now before the installation of the update. But what a checkpoint does is it creates a separate VHDX, virtual hard disk extended file. So these are the changes that have been made to DC2 since that checkpoint was made, however long ago that checkpoint was made. Okay, so about 5 hours ago. I can delete the checkpoint, which will cause the change disk to get merged into the main disk. I'm not going to do that just yet. Okay, that will have the effect of deleting this file. It'll merge the changes into the parent. Okay, anyway, that's a separate discussion. All right, so I've got 2 DCs now. On my server core, sconfig will run by default. You don't have to do anything when you reboot the server. However, on my GUI-based desktop, you can see Server Mangler. I've got a stupid pet name for all things Microsoft. Server Mangler loads itself, and it takes me right to the dashboard. And I can see what's going on with my server at a glance, right? I installed the DNS role. I installed the File and Storage Services role. I can see that everything is in the green, which is good. It didn't start that way. I had 2 local services that didn't start. They were not crucial to the running of the server, but I just come in here, I look at the services that didn't start, and I'm able to right-click on them and then start them. Okay, but fortunately, they weren't critical to the operation of the server. Okay, so I don't have a workstation yet to manage these servers, so I don't have anywhere with the RSAT, the Remote Server Access Tools, installed, or admin tools, but I want to be able to manage this box. Oh my God, my PowerShell skills. We can do this from the GUI. In Server Mangler on DC1, okay, I can go to, whoopsie, that's not where I wanted. I can go to All Servers here, or I can go to Manage, and I can add servers, right? So let's go to All Servers first, and you can see that the DC2 has already been added. Okay, so I can choose manage here. I can choose add servers. This is the reason I installed DNS to start. Okay, so I don't want to get ahead of myself here, but I'll show you what I did, right? So I'll bring up the DNS Mangler, and you'll see that I created a forward lookup zone. If you don't know what a forward lookup zone is, it's all right. We'll talk about that later. Okay, forward lookup zone. Okay, the Active Directory domain we're going to be working with is going to be called test.local. Now, Microsoft best practice says don't use .local at the end, but it's all right. This is an internal domain. It's not going anywhere. I couldn't care less. So you can see I've got 2 records already. I have statically assigned IP addresses to both servers. I've added them to DNS. Now there's a couple different ways you can do that. You can run ipconfig register DNS, and as long as this server can see the DNS server, it's going to write that record in here. Or you could just right click and choose new host. Okay, I cancel that. Okay, so we'll minimize this. So if I run WinSVR25-DC02, now I may get an error message because this has already been added. Okay, so if I click this, and then I would click OK. Cancel that. Now, when I clicked OK, initially I got an error negotiating my WinRM. Okay, that is something that I had to enable here, and I will copy and paste the command. Okay, there were a couple of things I had to do. Okay, so I will copy these commands. I'll start up Notepad. You can see this is the password I use for all of my servers. Okay, so on both machines, DC2 and 1, I'd started admin command prompt on both, and I pasted this command. I'm allowing ping packets, Internet Control Messaging Protocol, or ICMP. I'm allowing it. IP version 4, okay, with option 8. So I'm allowing any ping request to come through. And then the second thing I had to do on both servers, from an elevated PowerShell prompt, okay, I have to allow, although this may not be considered best practice, but again, in a test network, I'm not concerned. I want to allow standard users to be able to see Server Manager. I don't want to give you domain admin access to this machine just to come in here and kind of see, oh, you know, is DNS working? I want you to be able to see the errors without having to log in. They call it just enough administration, or GEA, G-E-A. Okay, so I had to run those 2 commands, and now you could see I've got my server online. So what can I do with this, right? So let's see if I double click. Let's try that. And we'll wait. Okay, nothing happened. So let's try Computer Manager. If I right click and I go to Computer Mangler, now we're going to wait. Okay, because this has to traverse the network, it has to check my permissions, it has to verify that the server is online and reachable. Okay, and nothing happened. Okay, that's not really what I was after. Let's do a Windows PowerShell. Okay, and even on this small network, look how long this takes. Okay, now on an enterprise network, it's not this bad. Okay, I'm on a very small laptop. It is very underpowered for what I'm asking it to do. But now if I know which commands I want to run against DC2, I can come in here and I can paste it. Okay, there we go. Oh, which user? Okay, so my user would be, I don't have an mkelly user. All right, so let's just press enter and get out of there. There we go. So what I'm missing at the end of that command is a -user and the name of a regular user, but I didn't create any local users on this. Okay, but anyway, the commands I can run from this command prompt, this PowerShell prompt on DC1, affect DC2. Okay, so let's close that. Let's minimize that. Oh, okay, so this is a DCOM, distributed, oh God, I can't remember what COM stands for. This is a permissions issue. Okay, so I will need to troubleshoot that separately, but we'll worry about that later. Okay, so what Computer Manager is supposed to look like. If I connect to Computer Mangler on my own machine, which is DC1 or local, you can see I've got all these different things in here. Okay, I've got to enable remote management for the task scheduler, the event viewer, etc. I don't have those things enabled on DC2, which is why I can't see them. Okay, but once I'm set up properly, though, I can do all my management from here. Okay, what else can I do? I'm going to RDP, Remote Desktop Protocol. Now, a couple things will happen here. Watch what happens to the screen. Over here, it should return me to the login screen while it's trying to establish an RDP connection using TCP port 3389. Did I enable? I did enable Remote Desktop. There it is. Okay, option 7 is enabled. So again, I think part of the problem is the machine I'm demoing this from is super underpowered. So let me pause the video and we'll come back. Okay, so I paused the video for about 5 seconds and then this box shows up. You can check this box. Don't, not yet. Okay, one of the test questions I may very well ask you is, hey, what's that warning box say? And if you see this at work, this is something you bring to the attention of your IT department. I've got a security certificate that is invalid or doesn't exist. This could be a man-in-the-middle attack for those of you cybersecurity folks. Now I should get a second warning box. Let's pause again. Okay, that took a little longer than 10 seconds, but notice DC2 is now, you got kicked off the system. That's because RDS, Remote Desktop Services, or RDC, Remote Desktop Connection, or RDP, whichever you want to call it, Remote Desktop Protocol, when I'm remoted into another box, it forces that user to have to log back in. Now, if I log back in locally on DC2, it's going to end my RDS session. This is why you don't use RDP at work, because if I'm trying to remotely assist a user, it kind of like gives me access to their screen while eliminating visibility. They can't see what I'm doing. Okay, so there are other tools like to do this. Okay, but I can do, let's see, what do I want to do? Let's take a look at option number 6. It's going to ask me what kind of updates. Let's take a look at, are there any recommended quality updates? It shouldn't find any. But this is all happening on this machine. Just I'm driving it from here. Okay, so I got this error message because I'm no longer connected to the internet. Okay, we have to have a separate discussion about that network interface card, but that's okay. All right, error occurred, so we're back to that. Okay, so I'm going to reconnect. It's going to ask me for my password, and when I type in that password, it's going to kick me off of my RDS session. Okay, and what else can I do? What else can I do? We're going to add a role. We're going to add a feature. Let's do it. Okay. How would you add a role to a server using PowerShell? Well, let's see. Let's go to Google. Let's go to add DNS role using PowerShell. Okay, and then I could do that. Okay, let's copy that. And let's come over here and paste it. All right, I can paste that command here and run it. Or I can come over here and select server 2. Let's do DNS Let's not do anything else. You can pause the video if you want to take a look at the other roles and features. Okay. Next. Generally, I will choose this, although on a production server, don't. Okay, I should be warned. Are you sure you want to reboot? Okay, well, okay, so on server core it doesn't. Server GUI, it warns me. Are you sure you want to reboot? Because right, you're right in the workday here. All right, let's pause this and come back. All right, so that took about 90 seconds, give or take. Installation succeeded. DNS should not require a restart, and that's it. DNS has now been installed on server 2. Okay, so if I press enter here, I should get a message, right? Because it's already installed. What are you trying to do? Okay, success is true. Restart no. Okay, so it's, hold on a second. That's not what I wanted. I wanted to get service. I think it's get service DNS. Get Windows feature name DNS. Let's copy that. Okay, DNS server is installed. Now, managing DNS shouldn't be a very manual process. Sometimes it is. Sometimes I can come in here and I can, add a new host. But once we get Active Directory installed and once we get AD integrated DNS zones, this should all be dynamic updates with security, right? Should be using Kerberos as the encryption protocol. Should be nearly impossible to crack. Excuse me. If I have, if I have a reverse lookup zone, which works in the opposite, it translates numbers to names, names to numbers. Okay. As I add workstations and servers to this domain, their records should just appear here automatically, or automagically as I call it. Okay. Or you could, right, and this will contact the primary DNS server, which in this case is DC01. And if the record for the machine I'm trying to register doesn't exist, it'll add it. Okay, so I think, what else did I want to say about Server Core or Server Manager? Okay, Server Manager, once it's running, you can right-click it, you can pin it to the taskbar so it will always be there. You can close it, and then, hey, there it is. You can, come back to it at any point you want. At some point, you'll get sick of seeing this message, right? Don't click on that just yet, right? Because I may ask you, right, what's the link to go to get Windows Admin Center? And, you're going to need to know that. Okay. Server Manager runs by default on Server 2016 or newer. It can be added to Server 2012 R2. It can also be used to manage up to 100 servers on Server 2012 and Server 2012 R2. The reason that's important is because many companies still make use of that. Yeah, I know it went the way of the dinosaurs about 5 to 10 years ago, but good luck convincing some of your customers, hey, it's time to upgrade your stuff. Okay. I think that was all I wanted to talk about as far as Server Manager goes. Nope, that is not the only thing. We'll have to come up with a separate video because I've been going on about 25 minutes now for making use of all these other things. Okay. But not yet. Okay. I could make a separate video on each one of these things. And that's probably going to be better because they'll be bite-sized, 5 to 10 minutes as opposed to making this take an hour and 24 minutes. All right, so that's all I want to cover for this one. Thank you for your attention. I will talk to you all next time.